All right, everyone, welcome to another edition of the Good Life Small Business Podcast, and I am excited to be at one of my favorite places, McCues Taproom here in Kearney, and I am pleased to be joined by Ryan and Katie Fitch and Tara and Joe Johnson, who are the owners of McCues here in Kearney. So thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So let's just get into it here so that we can get to know you guys a little bit better. What books are any of you reading right now?
Well, who wants to take that one?
I normally, I'm excited myself. I'm kind of a nerd, so I like fantasy and sci-fi books and stuff like that. I like to go with that kind of fiction type stuff. So unfortunately, I'm a little bit stalled out. I am on a book, Robert Jordan, Wheel of Time, which I say is like one of like the best fantasy books of all time. So about halfway through, but it's hot and cold. So,
yeah.
But last couple books I read before that were a couple by Patrick Rothfuss, The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear, and it was really great.
Wow.
Really great books, and just I don't know, cool. Kind of a slow start, but all of a sudden I just was like, man, part of a trilogy, and I can't wait for that third book to come out. So
Cool.
yeah,
Good.
anyway.
I am quite opposite of what you would read. I read easy read books,
Yeah.
and I read several at one time. I never read just one book at a time. So I'm currently reading Jessica Simpson's book, Open Book, and Nicholas Sparks' The Return. Those are the two I'm on right now, but
Very cool.
She's mine.
I just got done with The Outsiders because I read it listened to it with one of our kids. He needed 10 points for AR, and that one was for 7, so we did it. But
Yeah.
it was pretty violent. Like these guys say, there's a movie for it that came out in the 80s, but we'll have to watch it. So
Yeah. Hey, audiobooks for AR. It's amazing. Technology is amazing when it comes to that stuff. So yeah.
And all you need is a Kearney Public Library, and you can
Yeah.
get those audiobooks right off for free, so it's a good thing.
Yeah.
The last book that I read was I Am a Man, Chief Standing Bearer's Journey.
Nice.
That's a great one. It's by a UNL professor. Currently reading Something in the Water by Tony Gomes. It's a story of Lincoln businesses that started from nothing and grew to what we now, so like Nelnet. My day job, Olson, so Olson's stories in there, and just a whole bunch of cool Lincoln stories of major businesses that formed that city. So,
Oh, very cool.
it's a big picture book too. So
It
it's
is.
got like lots of pictures of Lincoln and stuff.
And Tony Gomes is a cool dude.
Yeah.
He's the director of Nebraska Department of Economic Development, so cool stories, cool read. But
I like listening or talking to people that have been in Kearney for a long time and how downtown has changed so much and the different buildings and what they used to be. So,
Yeah.
very good book.
Yeah.
How about podcasts? Anybody listen to any good podcasts?
I know that I'm really missing the boat because my friends and family are always telling me about new podcasts of a variety of topics, and I don't know why I don't. I mean, I always have my headphones in. I'm always listening to music, which is fine for me, but I should. I mean, I have listened to my share of like, Joe Rogan, and
Yeah.
I used to listen to a lot of like Mark Maron, WTF. But yeah, I better get with the program. I'm missing out. Well, that was the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
I've listened to the Rise podcast, Rise Together. Really nice.
We're kind of music junkies.
Yeah.
So if we have the music on, we have the country music on.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Nothing
So
wrong with
that's our thing. He
Yeah.
listens to sports podcasts.
yeah, sports, Husker Spot podcast.
Yep.
I do listen to Tesla podcast.
Okay.
I'm just I like the technology. And,
Yeah.
The car, not the band.
Well, either or. If there was one on the band, I'd probably
Sure.
listen to it.
Yeah.
But I haven't found it yet.
Yeah, I like my Husker podcast. I'm the same way. Especially like if I'm going for a run, I don't usually take things in very well when I'm trying to gasp for air.
Sure.
So just some nonsense about the Husker podcast.
Yeah.
So I like those. So, all right, guys. So I think I know a little bit, but I'm really curious to know more about McCues, how it got started, how you guys kind of came together, and just kind of walk us through the journey from vision to reality of how this got going.
We've known each other for a long time, and so when the Johnsons moved back to Kearney, it was really great because obviously they were good friends of ours, and we were excited to be around them again. And we went on family vacation together with our kids and their kids. We went to Fort Robinson, fantastic vacation spot. Can't get enough of that. And then on our way back, we stopped at Kincaidor in Broken Bow there, and it was at that time it was just still very fresh, and I mean, not like it's not exciting now, but I mean it was just very much like, wow, this is a cool place. I haven't been here yet. Good beer, obviously, great food and things, and then we were just like joking, over drinks, like, hey, wouldn't it be fun to do something like this,
Yeah.
just because it felt like you get your finger on the pulse of like craft beer and just what's really cool. And of course, we've liked beer for ages, we we love going around to breweries and different bars and things for sure. So. We just laughed it off, like, hey, let's start this up, okay, and we basically went home, and I think Kate and I just kind of moved on, and like, Tara and Joe were really busy digging into what it would take to do all of that, and very motivated and moving forward, and they dug into all that, and they're very good at those types of things, I don't know if that's necessarily us, as far as the actual, what does it take, like licenses and things like that. So they had us out to the house for drinks, and they started laying it all out for us. And with every time we got together, it just started getting more and more kind of cemented, maybe kind of real. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, then things just started to really pick up steam, as far as we had a love for old buildings, I think, and we'd spent a lot of time like in the downtown of, like Omaha and other places like that. And, some of those buildings are gone. And now they're replaced with brand new buildings, which are a lot of, concrete and steel and glass and stuff, but they're just, I feel like they're lacking in just a lot of, story and just the feel and the vibe. And I like that a lot better, just that old vibe. And so anyway, our landlord here, Patrick Moore, was, redoing this building, and it just kind of fell into the lap, and it seemed like exactly kind of what we needed, and we needed to get on top of that, and we needed to figure out how to do something maybe different, and I don't know, that's the direction we headed in. Did a lot of brainstorming, so.
And I think during that whole process, there was the brewers and the distributors were kind of going at it in the Nebraska legislature, and part of my day job, I track legislation, and I've always done that since we moved back. Tara and I moved back here to Kearney. I was a city administrator in the state, so following legislation on an annual basis is just something that I've done. So during this whole process, the brewers and the distributors were trying to settle their differences in the legislature, and it was all about the at-rest clause. So meaning that when does the beer become the possession of the distributor, and when's it not the possession of the brewery anymore? So I'll give you an example, like Bolo Brewing up in Valentine. So they wanted to get their beer across the street to a steakhouse, but they had to ship their beer all the way to Omaha to have it come at rest at the distributor's place in Omaha.
Really?
Then they had to drive it all the way back out to Valentine to deliver it. So what came out of that was that they compromised, and if there's a truck, that means that they've taken possession of it. It doesn't have to be in the warehouse. But during that whole process, we were originally going to open up a co-op. So this was going to be a co-op because each brewery can have up to 5 satellite locations. Okay. So we were going to physically make 5 caps. So we're going to contract with 5 different breweries, and they own 5 caps. We just own and operate the space. So they could physically bring beer without having to go through the distributors. But during that whole process, we checked with the Liquor Control Commission, and they basically said no way, no how. So, and they, to have a liquor license is a privilege. It's not a guarantee. So, so we just decided, and I think one day we were sitting around the table, and when we were having this conversation, and I think it was Ryan said, "Well, we're all in Nebraska all the time then." And so that's when we went 30 taps, and it included wine and distilled spirits, and we just became an all Nebraska all the time venue. So
I think we knew when we were going to open another like tap room bar in Kearney that we had to be different.
Yeah.
We couldn't be the same old thing that was going around in every corner down here. So we went with the all Nebraska products. And we just feel like there's a lot of people out there still that don't know that Nebraska makes whiskey. So it's just been a lot of education and that type of stuff for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's cool that, so when we talk about the brewers and the distributors, there's a third stool linked to that stool, and it's the retail. So every other bar, I shouldn't say every, but most of the bars, they're okay if they get their large beer, like Southern Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Lite, because that's really what they need. So the distributors can do that product very well. But what we hope to accomplish here is that we're that third stool, or that third leg to that stool, because now we are directly impacted when the distributor can't get Nebraska products and bring it directly to us.
Sure.
Like they can do with Bud Light, Coors Light, whatever.
Right.
So at some point in the near future, we'll assert ourselves in that arena and say, hey, we're all Nebraska all the time. We support the local economy. Now you got to help us out and businesses like us out.
Sure.
And represent us, just not big beer or the distributors. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, talk about the name a little bit. Did you guys have different names for what you wanted the bar to be, or I know McCues has been in Kearney for a while, if I understand it right. So just tell that story a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this has been here for a long time. I mean, way before we were ever around here. So people here, they really know McCues' name. And so, yeah, we got together, we brainstormed out all kinds of crazy names and weird things, and, met with, mixed reviews, what are you going to stick with forever? And then we were like, well, all of a sudden it was kind of like, well, why even mess with it? If you can get it, keep it, because that's exactly what we were talking about.
Sure.
It's like, don't let that history go, so, but it just, I don't know, it's like weird, it's like right in front of your face, but you don't see it, so. Yeah,
It was kind of like a light bulb went off.
We went around and around and
we'll call it
just,
McCues.
some of those things that did come up, they were simple, but it was just like a moment of like clarity, I guess, or something, I don't know, so.
The family of the McCues was very excited that we kept the name.
Yeah.
I think they've been each of the siblings have been in contact with us, and we've sent them t-shirts and that type of thing, so they were really excited that
Nice.
the name was gonna continue in town, so.
It was a grocery store, right?
Yeah, a lot of things, feed store and, like Tractor Supply place, back in the day, way back in the day, was a beer warehouse.
Really?
Pre-Prohibition or during Prohibition, Krug warehouse, so it's good to have that stuff back in here.
Yeah. Very cool. So what's your favorite part of being a small business owner?
Drink it right from the tap.
I think it's probably you get to set your own schedule. You get to make the decisions on how things are going to run and how things happen around here. The other thing that's cool is our kids are like so proud. Like they get to go places and be like, my mom and dad own whatever. So that part's cool for me.
Yeah.
Which has been a change though, because our kids hated us at one point for this,
Yes.
because of how the amount of time we had to spend on it, so.
Yeah.
I think from the time we just started construction to the end, it was probably 3 months, 4 months. So we did not mess around at all. So once we got the place rented, it was like, we have to get this done because we have to start making money.
Yeah.
Because we didn't, it's hard to get a business loan when you don't have sales so you can't. That's just a tough part of it.
Sure.
Right, which renovating a building and starting a business from scratch is doing it at the exact same time was really stressful, to say the least.
So did you guys do everything in here as far as the renovation?
Yeah.
I'd say 95% of it.
Yeah.
We came in here as 4 walls and a couple stubbed out bathrooms, and that was about it.
That's about it.
Yep.
It was dingy, dark, yeah, it's come a long way.
Very cool. Very cool. So is it what you thought it would be?
I think it's probably more.
Yeah, I think it's better
Yeah.
than our original thought on it.
I mean, we met with a beer distributor for the first time, and all of a sudden we were like, we almost went with, I think, more taps than we have, which thank goodness we did, you know, but we were like, you know, we knew Nebraska had a lot of beer, but we weren't real certain we were going to be able to keep 30 taps full all the time.
Yeah.
And then we met with the very first one, and he just kind of put our, you know, fears to rest. He was like, oh man, we'll have these filled 3 times over if you want, you know, and you know, sure enough, obviously now we really know, you know, I mean, like what's out there, but you just didn't know how, you know, level of production and what's available all the time. And so, yeah, I mean, it's, people in this industry are excited, you know, and
Yeah.
just full of energy, and you know, we want to be a part of that too. So.
I think one of the funniest stories is the 4 of us thought we could do it all. We thought we could have our other jobs, and then I was here most of the time, and that we could work here. We didn't need staff, that we were just going to do it. So opening weekend, I think we may have had 1 staff person hired, and he was gone for something. It was just the 3 of us, and I remember the first night we went home, and we were just like, oh no. So I think the next day we probably hired a couple of people, started getting them trained and that kind of thing. But then at that point we realized we cannot do it all.
Yeah.
So when we first set up, we thought we'd serve 12 drinks an hour consistently. So we thought one person can handle it, but we found out very quickly that that model was way off.
Yeah.
So
So if all 4 of you have jobs outside of the bar? No?
2 of us now.
Yeah.
Yep.
We started with all of us having jobs outside the bar.
Yeah.
So I used to do most of the day-to-day operations. Now I kind of do the paperwork. Ryan has just recently come down, like in the last 2 months, and now he's kind of taken over the day-to-day operations. So yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that's good. I mean,
Great.
Let's go.
Good, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about COVID. And there's a lot out there. It can be overwhelming and it can be negative. But I think being a small business owner, that there can be a lot of positives that come out of the pandemic. And I think that it highlights, for me, and just talking with small business owners, it highlights sometimes you're maybe hesitant, or there's other things to do before you do something maybe that you need to, whether it's an investment in a product or start selling something different or whatever it may be. But I think that COVID made a lot of business owners do things that, you know, they didn't think that they needed to do or didn't want to do at the time, but they had to do to stay afloat. So what's one positive that you guys have taken out of COVID that you're using going forward, or that you've implemented that you're going to be using, looking back, you think maybe, you know, it's a bad deal, but I'm glad that we took those steps to implement that?
Sure. I mean, I think we can, when we knew we were going to be shut down, we were like, you can either sit here and do nothing, or you need to start thinking so you can be successful at the end of COVID. And the one thing that we started to focus on was the off-sale liquor sales. We have our off-sale license.
Yep.
And so we were like, offered growlers 3 for $25. We might not have made much off of that, but at least we were bringing people through the door.
Right.
The other thing is we changed the front of McCues into like a liquor store. So we took all of our hard liquor and put it out and put our wines out so people could come in, buy it, and take it to go. So up until then, we really didn't put a lot of emphasis on off sale, but then during the pandemic, we did. So.
Yeah.
Did a bit of delivery too, which was great, and I mean, I think we were all just I think blown away and humbled by the amount of people that just throughout all of it just kept right on, you know, contacting us, coming to McCues, and I mean, just, you know, we know how much people are going through, you know, and to have a little part carved out for us was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, so what a feeling.
I think you just have to remember your regulars, like that come in here constantly. I mean, those are the people that saved us during COVID.
Yeah, we have very loyal
Customers, and
Yeah.
those are the
loyal
people
followers.
that saved us.
For sure.
And we did some creative things. So Ryan and I put on the Snow Beast costume, which I'm drinking right now from Container, and we went out and delivered beer cases of Snow Beast to people from Kearney to Holdridge,
Nice.
just wearing this goofy outfit, but things like that. But I think during the shutdown, we didn't have cans or bottles, and then during the shutdown, we were like, we need to invest in a cooler so we can have those
Yep.
things available. And I think it expands. I mean, I think we're at like 37 beers now that you can get here. between what's on tap and what's in bottles and cans. So I think that's a positive thing. You know, it forced us to relook at how we sell things, and I think that's something we can build upon in the future too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, if I'm a fly on the wall, where it's you four sitting down, and I assume you probably sat down, and when the middle of March is hitting and nobody knows what's going on, what was that like for the four of you?
Doom and gloom is what it seemed like to start with. Yeah, it seemed like, how are we going to be able to keep this baby afloat? You know, and things like I said a moment ago. I mean, like, things turned out to be better than we could have hoped for and anticipated. And I mean, just unconditionally grateful to all the individuals that just throughout, you know, kept coming to us, and you know,
It was a lot of number crunching. You know, what is it going to take to pay the rent? You know, all the bills, everything mounting. You know, there was a lot of, you know, text between the four of us and phone calls and what do we have in the bank? What do we need to put in the bank? Where are we gonna? You know, there was just a lot of unknown.
A lot of our employees, some of this is their second, third job. So we did go to them and say, you know, we have an employee here, this is their only job. And all the employees that this was their second and third job were like, no, we're fine. You need to give person A their hours.
Sure.
So we did not have to lay people off. So we kept most of our staff through COVID. We were able to keep even 2 people on schedule to fill growlers and stuff at night. So, I mean, we were very fortunate too in that room, because nobody wants to lay anybody off.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm going to go off script a little bit here, and dynamic-wise, with 2 married couples, I mean, sometimes with a married couple that's running a business, there can be enough friction for everyone. But with 2 married couples, just kind of talk about the dynamics of your guys' partnership, what it looks like now, what it looked like when you guys started. I think there's just a lot. To me, it's very interesting how just how you make it all work, because you've got different personalities, but you've got 2 different couples that are working towards the same goal too. So just talk about that a little bit.
oh yeah. I mean, we all know each other really well. We've known each other for a long time, so we've seen some good and bad from each other already. But no, I mean, I think that these guys would agree that we all sort of bring something to the table. You know, we all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses, and we're able to, as a unit, I think, achieve, you know, some success. So I think we all have learning to do, and I don't think it ever stops.
I think that's one of the biggest questions I feel like, you know, people ask me is, are you guys still friends? Like, and do you still vacation together and you still hang out? And it's like, I think because we've known each other, you know, since college, so you know, coming on 20 years we've known each other. I think that we had such a foundation built in a friendship first, which kind of like a relationship, you know, that we can say, you know, you're pissing me off today, and the other guy says, yep, yep, you are.
Yeah.
And I think that nobody holds anything against it. You know, I mean, we've had a couple like really stressful moments trying to get this thing started, and it was like everybody needs to disappear. Like, I don't want to see, nobody wants to see anybody. You know, a couple of hours, let's meet back. It's all, you know, it's all mine.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of like a marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we use humor a lot. Like, we have a text thread with all of us, and like a lot of memes and gifts and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so that I think we use humor a lot to get through the little things.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of easier. So like, I couldn't imagine like if Tara and I just owned McCues and didn't have Ryan and Katie, like, because I mean, you as a small business owner, you go home and you're like, no, I think it should be this way. No, it should be that way. And then it tears you apart. But now we have, okay, if this is tearing us apart, put this in Katie and Ryan's court. Like, let them be the side.
Right.
Because then it doesn't tear you apart. Because then you had another voice into this mix instead of a therapist, you know?
Right.
Like, let's involve the other partners, let's decide how this should go. And then, just to piggyback on that, is that whatever's the majority of this group, that's what we do. Like, I may feel strongly one way, but if the other three don't, then that's cool.
Right.
We move on, so.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think it's better that way. I mean, having all of us here together to make, because we've made some tough decisions.
Yeah.
So, and it's, it's just, it is what it is, and you move on. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, I don't like to do social media, like, I just like, it takes forever. Ryan's good at it, he likes it. Kate's good at getting the t-shirts together, all that stuff. I can handle the paperwork, and he handles the maintenance stuff.
Right.
So we all have our roles, and we all know what our roles are, so. And then if there's something crazy that comes up, then we kinda all get together and be like, all right, we better handle it this way.
Yeah.
And I think when someone makes a decision too, like, we entrust that you're making the best decision with the information that you have.
Right.
And that's what happens, so.
But communication is the key.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
at the root of all of it. And I think
Yeah.
that's a highlight for any small business, whether it's a solo person, you've got to communicate to a lot of different people, or if you've got a partnership. Like I said, if you've got a problem with someone, you need to be able to say, hey, I've got a problem. We can go away, we've got to come back and we've got to address this, because otherwise that's when the friction starts. So,
Right. And we've had a text thread amongst the four of us for
Since we
since we opened. I mean, you can probably go back.
Didn't
Months
we-
and months
Didn't
and
we
months.
like crash it or something one
Yes,
time?
it crashed my whole phone.
It
'cause
was
so
such a long
big.
thread, it was too much.
But it's a constant, it's a daily communication amongst the four of us that everybody's in the loop all the time. Even if, I don't care, I'm just like, oh, well, I saw it, so good for me. Keep rolling through,
yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
how it is.
And I think we take that for granted. I think our foundation was built on communication. Like, we owe, like, even starting this from idea to actually rolling and saying, okay, we're going to do this. There was just a ton of communication. So I think our foundation was built on just, okay, we're going to, whatever,
Right.
good, bad, and ugly, great, here it is. Like, that's just what we, so communication's never been, like one of our detriments, I guess. I think we do that extremely well, so.
Yeah. Did it take you time to find your roles?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we absolutely had to come and sit down and have a meeting, and say, who's got what here, So I think it was very beneficial.
There was a lot of stuff in the beginning, like when we were opening, that, Tara and I handled the fine details,
Right.
the furniture, the glassware, all the, kind of details where the guys were dealing with, the construction, the build out, drywall, things like, things like that. And then at that point, then we had to kind of, once we were getting ready to open, we had to say, okay, now what are our roles gonna be?
Right. Yeah.
I think we learned a lot of lessons too in the first 2 years. I think everything that could possibly have went wrong, and it only makes you tougher. Like, we went through some like major bank fraud, somebody hacked into our accounts, our whole cooler system went down. Like, I don't remember what else happened, but in the first year we got really tested. Like, you come in, you'd be like, oh no.
Man, you
not today.
learn a lot. You
Yes.
learn a lot. You make a lot of mistakes, and you just learn from them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how you get better, right?
Yeah. So we've been tested, so we don't need to be tested anymore.
Right. Well, in a pandemic, so.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I'm like, you open a business in your second year and a pandemic hits, and you're just like, okay, I got this. We
Right.
got this. We can do
I don't
this.
No big deal.
Yeah,
I think everybody was ready for 2020 to be like a jumping off point. you
we
know?
did. Yep.
Like, not just us, but so many people. And I think maybe even Trevor might have said that even.
Mhm.
Thunderhead, you're just like ready to hit the ground running in 2020 and just,
Yep.
legs right out from under you. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably one of the other cooler things is that we've met a lot of cool people. Like, like if I call Trevor right now and say, I need this, I need help. Like, he's helped us a lot. Like, he helps us understand. So the craft beer community is very willing to step in and help you out.
Yeah.
And when you're doing something that they don't like, they will let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's been cool, the relationships that we've built with the different breweries in the state.
Good call.
So if the four of you could go back in time and sit down with the four of you 2.5, 3 years ago, what advice, if any, would you say, okay, maybe you should do this, or would you not do anything and just let it go as it has been, not make any changes? Is there any advice you would give yourself back then?
I would buy just a canned cooler.
Yeah.
So we built a cooler and we had to redo it in 3 days. So we didn't want to be closed for too long, and there was a holiday, so we only had to close 1 day. But we totally gutted the cooler, rebuilt it from the ground up. Like that's a lot of taps, 30 taps in there. So
Yeah.
you have to remove all that stuff. So yeah, I'd buy a canned cooler. Prefabbed, like just plug and play. Here you go.
Learning on the fly doing that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But it goes back to the great partnerships. Who was our cooler guy? Scott was his name.
Yeah.
But I called him one day and I said, hey, we got to totally gut the cooler because there's something going on. And he's like, all right, I'll be right out. And then we took down all the taps and he go, well, on Tuesday morning you need to come back out and help me install it. Sure as heck, he was out bright and early Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Came out. I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah, with draft tags, and I think he charged us like $300 or something like that to do all that.
Really?
Maybe
And I was
2 trips.
like, holy buckets. So
Thank you.
yeah, that's what I would
I
do.
think it's just saying a lot of thank yous.
Yeah.
Like, just thank you for helping us, yeah.
Just say don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't be sick with worry. Sometimes like you are.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sleepless nights, sure. But people are going to help you along the way for sure. And we've counted on a lot of those people a lot. So
I think that's one thing going forward. Like, we've helped a lot of other new business owners in town. They'll even come to us and I'll be like, make sure you put your fire extinguisher here, put your paper towel holder here. And I know one person in town was like, you saved me a week. So I just, you need to help the next guy out.
Right. You've been helped, so you're just trying to pay it forward.
Right.
yeah.
And, we might not have gotten a lot of help when we started. So I'm like, I need to help the next person.
Right.
So we've helped a lot of UNK classes come in and taught. They want to learn how things started, how to get a business going. So I think that part's important to get back, so other people know. Why make people struggle if they don't have to?
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Don't hoard that knowledge.
So if someone came to any of you, and I'll give you each a chance to kind of share your own, but if someone came to you and said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a small business, what's the first piece of advice you would give them?
Research. Know your market. Know how you're going to get the money to start the business. Know if you even have something that people in town want to come to.
I'm probably the oddball because I'm the entrepreneurial spirit. Ever since I could remember thinking, I've always wanted to own my own business. When I was a little kid, I used to sell crackers with jelly on them to my neighborhood kids, friends for 5 cents. So I just go. If you have a good idea and you can put a business plan together, just give it a shot. And that's really.
Yeah, I
way
can
out of
see you
bounds.
butt heads.
A little bit.
that's it's kind of way out of bounds because you have to be more careful than that. But
Right.
there's if there's a good idea and you have the financial means to do it, then you should give it a shot. So
I think there's people that wait for the perfect time to do whatever they're going to do. And there comes a point where you just have to do it. And it's going to be messy and it's not going to be perfect and there's going to be bumps in the road. But there comes a point, like you said, you have to do your research, but you have to just do it.
yeah.
So, yeah, I get that.
And I like that. So it's that pit in your stomach that you're like, oh man, I'm about to jump off this here cliff, and I don't know if my parachute's going to open.
Right.
But I've always been, in my work life outside of McCues, I mean, I go into clients' offices all the time or out for coffee, and they can tell me to go fly a kite, or they can say, hey, I like what you guys are doing, let's do some business.
Right.
So I'm preconditioned to all of that. I mean, if my parachute opens, good. If it not, then I hope something like gets in my way, like a tree or something.
Right. Yeah.
I don't fall too hard.
Right. Right. Katie, how about you?
Oh gosh. I'd probably tell them not to try not to get wrapped up in the what ifs, which is hard to say, but gosh, I just remember those first couple of months when we were actually like, okay, we're doing this. I mean, like Ryan said, it was sleepless nights, it was a lot of worry, it was, you just about made yourself sick, worrying about the unknown, and it's like Joe said, at some point you just gotta jump.
Yeah.
And do it, and I mean, it's turned out very well for us.
I think that, so early on in the foundation of this, so this was the first business that Tara has ever said, okay, let's do this.
It's had a lot of other ideas.
Yeah, I've had a lot of it. And so, you get Tara's buy-in and say, let's do this. So we were all in, but then the Fitches, they provide that counterbalance. So Tara and I were ready to jump, and the Fitches were like, okay, what if, are we sure, what if, and I think it really made, our business plan was outstanding, and because that counterbalance really forced us to take a look at what this looks like. And it was all on paper, but it provided that, it provided that foundation for what we have today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ryan, how about you?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right.
Coffee. You can do it. I think you can do it. You're not going it alone. What you were talking about earlier, that's one of the things that, I was thinking about is you are not going it alone. You've got some people you can fall back on. So many times you feel like you're up a creek, what am I going to do here? And I don't know, it just always seems like somebody comes through, family or friends or whatever, and we're just kind of fortunate that there's 4 of us and we can draw on each of us,
Yeah.
So you gotta bury those worries and you gotta just do it.
Yeah.
Obviously there's logistics that goes along with that, but you're excited. Don't let anything slow you down. So.
Right. Yeah.
And I would add, it's so we've all, us 4, we've all been passionate about craft beer and just hanging out together. And I think, hopefully, when somebody walks in here, they say, oh man, this is all about hanging out and craft beer. What our passions were. So we designed this place, and the whole business model is surrounded by what we would enjoy.
Right.
If this was in any other community or any other state, we'd be the first ones through those doors.
Right.
And say, man, this is a cool place, and we really like the experience. We really like the Nebraska focus of this thing, and just, I think we're all passionate about it. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. So, what do you guys have coming up? What's going on at McCues that you want to let everybody know about? Highlights?
Well, people need to know we're 100% all Nebraska. I still think that there's people around here that don't really even know us, which I get. I understand how busy people get, I just want people to just know we're here. We're 100% all Nebraska, even down to the snacks that we carry. It's not just 30 taps of cold, delicious, all Nebraska-born beer. We've got tons of different stuff that's been distilled in the state. Wine, cider, all those types of things. All of our alcohols to go all the time. People bring in your food all the time. We don't have the space for that in here beyond snacks, but bring your food in whenever you want it to. Have it delivered. Nobody's going to tell you different. So, we just wanted this to be a place where, enjoy being together with conversation and maybe some snacks, and obviously go along with beer. But,
Right.
I think one days me and Ryan were here, and I was like, I think they were probably in their early 80s, and about 12 of them came in the mid-afternoon, and they all sat in here together and did flights of beer, and I was like, that is why we opened McCues.
Yeah.
We wanted to give that group, that population, somewhere they can go and feel comfortable, and and I was like, that's
Yeah.
what our goal was.
Break out a deck of cards. And
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
persevere.
Yes.
That's the time.
Yes.
The part of the reason we did put a bunch of TVs in here too, because it can be good, but it can also be a distraction, and we just wanted people to just chill and talk, I guess. So
But you guys do a lot of different stuff. Like you do bingo,
yeah,
Yeah.
you do Nebraska trivia.
Yep.
yeah.
So that's stuff you're not getting other places. And I've heard you yell at the bingo numbers.
I don't know. People get pretty passionate about
Winning numbers
bingo.
only.
Right, but you're so calm and smooth.
All right.
Even if you're a winner. So,
Yeah, and you'll see more of that to come. I mean, we're always looking for new ways to grow the business, so we'll continue to explore just different avenues for growth and to make sure that we're serving our population, our clientele. So, and bringing something new to Kearney that's just different. So,
Yeah. Cool. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you,
Awesome
Ryan.
story. And yeah, stop on into McCues.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.